Hello, I'm Aparna Ponnappa, and this is an interesting attempt on my part to do what I do best, which is talk, but talk into a camera. I'm sitting in our porch in our beautiful, beautiful estate here in Coorg. Coorg is a lovely district in Karnataka in India, and locally it's known as Kodagu. And someday I want to be able to shift here and live here and make a beautiful life based out of Coorg. And the struggle that I have is a large part of my profession deals with inspiring people in the cities. So I'm a corporate trainer. I mean, that's the word they use for us. But I like the word prosperity consultant or emotional intelligence consultant or just an inspiring speaker, a friend who talks to people and helps them muddle through their lives a little better than they were muddling through earlier. So, obviously, the interesting challenge for me is if I want to be living here all the time, how will I manage a life which is primarily out there? Another aspect of my life is that I lose that connection that I have with the participants of my program because I do very short duration programs, the shortest being 1.5 hours and the longest being maybe 3 days, at best 5 days, never longer than that. And very often I've had participants come and ask me, is there any way that they can continue to connect with me over things that I have to say and, you know, points that I might have taken them through. So this is an attempt towards that as well, to see whether I can connect with people with the gyan or the knowledge that I share or the insights or the wisdom that I share during my sessions. Can I continue to connect with people on an ongoing basis? So today I'm going to talk about an interesting insight that I had, series of three incidents and my thoughts on how we have a choice to be different and perhaps we need to explore that path for ourselves. So very interestingly, I was rushing off to work one day and I'm quite a stickler for time. If I make a commitment of being at a particular place at a particular time, I usually reach there sometimes half an hour, sometimes an hour, hour and a half early. And of course, when I get there early, I have enough to do thanks to the digital age that we're in. But this was about a day that, I got distracted when I was leaving, and hence there was a slight time lapse. And I rushed into my car. And while I was rushing to work, I realized that I forgot to wear a little brooch that I always wear. And it was bothering me so much that, I suddenly started thinking, what are the solutions? So going back wasn't an option because I had to travel really far and I'd be late for my session. So suddenly I thought maybe, it was early morning in Bangalore. I should stop at some flower shop and get myself a small little rose or a marigold to kind of stick in instead of a brooch. And I passed a few shops, and then suddenly I found this lady at a very interesting stretch where there was enough parking for me. So I pulled over my car, parked it on my left, took out my wallet, and walked purposely towards this lady with her small little pushcart and a lot of pretty flowers. I had accessorized quite beautifully that day, and I was wearing a beautiful sari. And here it was me, driving up in this car. My specs would have been slightly tinted because of the photochromatic lenses that I wear. And I asked her for a single rose. That's all I needed. And she told me to take it. And then I asked her how much it would cost. And she said, it's just a little rose. So you just take it. And not only that, she kind of took the rose from my hand, the one that I had selected. And she put it back into the bag and she gave me a prettier rose. So she got into selecting and giving me a rose that was nicer than what I could have selected myself. And the next thing she did was even stranger. She kind of picked up two, three more flowers and she said, take a few more. And I just was spellbound at the whole experience, saying, here is a woman who doesn't know me, and I look like I can help her financially. I look like I can pay a good and perhaps even a premium price for those roses. But she didn't want any money because what I was asking was very little. That experience stayed with me the whole of that day and for many days after. And you can see that it has still touched me and it's very much with me. In fact, the roses are also with me now, very dry. And somehow in my mind, I feel like I received those roses from a goddess. In stark contrast, a couple of days back, I was at the airport and I was getting back home. And very often, by the time I land into Bangalore, I'm out of charge. And then I'm trying to madly scuttle around for some telephone charge with some plug point, and I delay my journey home. So this time, very pragmatically, before I boarded the flight, I looked for a plug point, and I found this, plug point unit a little far away from me. So I was walking towards it. But again, people who know me know that I walk with a lot of purpose and a lot of force. So I guess I was hurtling down towards the charging booth. There was this wonderfully elegant woman there, gorgeous makeup, one of those handloom saris. And she looked at me coming there and she had a smile on her face. And she said, oh, do you want to charge your phone? And I said, yes. And she said, oh, there's no charging slot available. And I looked at her and I just then happened to look over her shoulder to look at the slots. And I found that, there were at least 3 charging points still available. So this was one of those units that had multiple charging points. And I looked at her and in that lovely style, if you've done a lot of railway travel, I'll adjust kind of statement I made to her. And I, smiled at her and found a little slot for myself and put my charging phone, charger there and started charging my phone. And after that, of course, she just ignored me. I didn't say anything or, do anything about that experience. But I remember that also stayed with me saying, wow, I mean, here is this charming woman with, electricity that she doesn't own, a charger that she doesn't own, and she's still guarding it for some reason. And there was this feeling of, what's with this world. And the third experience was around, me wanting to give out some bed sheets and pillows that we had, and I was talking to somebody about it. And they said immediately, no, 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 don't give it to these people and don't give it to those people, and maybe give it to the little sisters of the poor and remind them that, who you are and where the stuff is coming from, and they should really register that, you're giving it to them. There was this whole, conditions for, giving something that I wouldn't use anyway, that we have too much of, and something that won't come of use to us even in the coming months or years, because there is so much of it that we have. And this all got me thinking and deeply connecting to this whole ideology around prosperity. And I was privileged to attend a training program around it, or a series of, learning programs with the creative school where my son studies and Pragya Foundation, where this wonderful woman called Jayashree was teaching us about prosperity consciousness and how important it is for all of us to remember how much there is. We have so much to give, be it in terms of material things or time or energy or ideas. And perhaps it's time for all of us to reach down into our minds and hearts to think, what is it that I can give to people? And this whole journey of thinking through these ideas, and seeing so much kindness and generosity with people that you won't even imagine having the capacity to give. And so much of the lack of it, I started thinking, from an ideology sense, that's fine, and from an intellectual exploration, reasoning, thinking, debating these ideas, being observant and aware of these ideas, that's all fine. But what is that one thing that I can do to manifest the clear idea in my head that I need to be giving more? And a couple of things that I came up with is that, I'm going to give much more of my time and full attention to people when I'm interacting with them. So be it a friend, if I know that it was her birthday, I want to be able to take her out for a meal and keep my phone aside and be fully present in that conversation that I'm having with her. And definitely, with my son and my husband, these are the people that I ignore the most because they're the closest to me and they understand me so fully and they accept me so fully that I can get away with not giving them my time sometimes, right? Or my attention. So I said, I will switch off for large parts of the time when I'm at home and be fully present to those interactions. And already all of this has manifested so beautifully. I think my husband and I had the most beautiful conversation this morning sitting here in this very porch, which otherwise we would have just been rushing around like madmen and madwomen, just getting things done, getting our tasks done, focusing on sending emails out and things like that. That can wait, I feel, but these moments of interaction cannot. And therefore, I said, let me be more generous with my time and definitely far more open to sharing everything that I have. Find every moment to give rather than to take. So, be it, this wonderful box of chocolates and cake that landed in our house, we just looked at it and it would have laid there forever, I mean, we are people who can keep, a slab of chocolate in our fridge for, you know, over a year or 2 years or 3 years even. So just pay it forward, I mean, just open your heart and just give it, there's no more holding back that flow of objects, material goods, time, resources, ideas. Let's just open our hearts and let it flow. So this is what I'm grappling with, and this is what I'm experimenting with, seeing how much more I can give of my time, my energy, ideas, resources. And I suppose even starting on these videos is a part of that. I am generally super conscious about the way I look. And I know I couldn't have groomed myself any better sitting here in Coog. And I'm super conscious about, how I come across in a video, these pauses and the nods, the sounds around me. And I just said, leave it all be. Let me just give what I have to share today. And let me not be too concerned about whether there will be a tomorrow. But at least for today, I have shared something that was in my heart. And do with it what you will when you hear this and listen to these stories. Wishing you a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. There's a new month around the corner from tomorrow, right? So, wish you a great new month, a wonderful last quarter for the year, and see you again soon, hopefully. Thank you.